And it's time for one last look at your traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center. Got a couple accidents to report. One at I-20 westbound. 2 right lanes blocked. Another one at eastbound before 378 with 2 left lanes blocked. And then another one at Forest Drive near Percival Road. High today, plenty of sunshine, going to get up to 81 degrees. As we get into the middle of the week, going to have some rain chances returning on Wednesday with a high of 76. That's your traffic and weather from the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Center here on the early game. Nine o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on the game. Happy Cinco de Mayo, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's that's nice to hear after Happy May the 4th and all that.
That's right, yeah. Yesterday, May the 4th be with you.
Revenge of the 5th, whatever it is. But yeah, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, I just forgot about that.
I feel like everybody did. I didn't even, I opened the show with Preston, said the same thing, which, by the way, PSA, Preston wants me to remind everyone it is not Mexican Independence Day. That is not what Cinco de Mayo is. So if you are going out and celebrating today, just be sure you don't say that. But yeah, I don't know, fun day. Maybe funner in your younger years, when you're in college and stuff like that. I think as we get older, and especially when we have to be up early the next day for work and those kind of things, maybe not quite as fun of a holiday.
Dang, maybe I need to go to like Cantina or that new Mexican spot on in the Vista or somewhere. I mean, dang, that's good. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. It's easy to forget all this stuff after the things that me and many others had to endure in a baseball series this weekend that did not even feel like one.
We'll get into the specifics of the on-the-field stuff plenty as the hour goes along. How much collective time do you think you actually spent at Founders Park this weekend?
Oh, gosh, man. Let me count up my head. So it was a six hours of baseball on Friday, including the delay.
Yep.
And then you have to add an extra hour on because I was probably there like an hour early.
Yep.
And then Saturday, I got there probably about... What time that game started? 1? So 1?
Saturday was because they moved Saturday up.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I was probably there about 3.5 hours. I left about 15 minutes before they made the call in the day.
Yep.
And then yesterday, I got there right at first pitch and then was there until like 8:30 maybe. So in total, probably like 20-something hours this weekend. And it stunk because Caroline was in town this weekend.
Oh, man.
And so I felt bad, especially on Friday. Had I known it was going to be a 3-hour rain delay, I would have gone back to my apartment because I live right down the block.
Sure.
And then I would have come back. But luckily I did that on Saturday and it worked out. So, but it is what it is. It's just such a long weekend. And it's like, no, I got nothing of it. I just watched. Yeah. I watched what I've already seen and countless times going on the road this year. And thank God this weekend was not on the road, man, because I don't know if I could have handled it.
I felt bad for you guys, especially on Friday night, because, again, we got, the third inning, and then rain, lightning. And then the bad thing about, lightning clocks is it resets, right? So, okay, things looking okay.
Every 30
Boom.
minutes, man.
Another lightning strike, 30 more minutes. It goes on and on and on. It didn't restart until 10 o'clock or something, went well past midnight. You guys ended up talking about sandwiches at one point and having your own draft.
And it's all your fault too, because you brought up the main conversation.
You
starter.
Said I got time.
I got time. You can ask me anything, which you did. And honestly, it was fun.
I did not realize how spirited you would get about the is a hot dog a sandwich question.
No, I didn't mean to put it all in all caps either. But look, it's We just got into having a draft for, sandwiches, and it got pretty deep. And then we get into, different types of candy. And I made the stupid mistake of having the first overall pick. I kind of just thought this was like, all right, let's just name the most obscure candies possible. But no, it was just a regular draft, like it would be in, like, the pros in
What was
sports.
your number one pick for candy?
Well, I put Baby Ruth, thinking like, I thought like this is gonna be, let's just name the most obscure candies, but no. So I mean, this is what it is.
Yeah, you could add Reese's, a Hershey bar.
I would have done Reese's,
Twix.
So I feel like an idiot in that sense, but well, it is what it is.
The next time you guys are out at Founders Park for 6 to 7 hours, you'll know what to do next time.
Exactly, and maybe things will look different by then.
I mean, I hope there's not a next time. But
man, it's just one more home series to go, 2 weeks left to go in the season. It's just a mess.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels like taking medicine at this point. Nobody wants to do it. We have to be here. We have to look at it. We have to take it in, and we'll just try and swallow it as quickly as we can. We'll dive into what actually happened on the diamond in just a second, but it is 9 o'clock. Got to kick things off, as always, with our Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. All right, let's kind of take this from the very beginning. Before the rain delay happens on Friday night, first pitch at 7 o'clock or whatever, South Carolina jumps out to a pretty quick 3-0 lead, like an actual good first inning there. A couple runs get driven in, feeling okay about it. Obviously, a lot of baseball to be played between then and the end of the game. You lose that game. All right. And for after that first inning, so for the next, because they only played 7 innings yesterday in game 3, over the next 24 innings, you had the stat yesterday, outscored 39-5 after that first inning Friday night.
Can I just say, I think it was the most uncompetitive baseball series I've ever watched. Like, I've had the pleasure of seeing so many different things this year. I went to Texas, and I saw the 3 most obscure losses I've ever seen.
Those were tough.
Those were tough, and they were all very, very different, like things that I've never seen before. And then, I go to Arkansas. I also saw things that I've never seen before. I see an 8-run first inning. This weekend, thank God I did not have to fly out anywhere for this, because this was the most one-sided series I think you could see. Like, yes, South Carolina had the lead in game 1.
Yep.
They were up 4-1 in, like, the third inning before Florida started pounding out runs and stuff. But yesterday, man, I saw nothing. I saw a team that is ready for the offseason. And I think that starts at the top with Paul Mainieri. Again, I said it a few weeks ago. I think he's checked out. And I still feel that way now. And I don't care if anyone disagrees with that. That's my point of view on the situation being there.
Sure.
And that is totally what I see and what I feel about the situation. Now, I mean, look, just getting outscored 30-3 yesterday in 2 games. It wasn't even a full 18-inning doubleheader. It wasn't a traditional doubleheader at all. It was 6.5 innings and then 7. So more like 13.5 innings later.
What could Florida have done with 2 more innings yesterday?
Oh, my gosh, man. And here's the craziest part about all this, dude. It was a 6-3 game in the 7th inning in game 1.
That's the thing, is you were in that game. And the fact, here's the thing. You got beat by 19 runs, and it wasn't a run roll. Because when Florida came up to bat in the top of the 9th inning, they were still not up by 10 runs at that point in time. That's the most insane thing.
It's just, they scored 16 runs in the last 2 innings. 16. How do you let that happen? And don't tell me the pitching is that bad. I know they're not very good, but it's not all on them. It has a lot to do with the untimely mound visits that for some reason just occurred so frequently yesterday. It was like every time Terry Rooney went out to the mound or Paul Mainieri went out to the mound, something immediately awful will just happen right after that. And I don't know what is said in these mound visits, but I doubt it's very encouraging when these guys are going out there and they're getting rocked. I mean, every pitcher seemed to struggle yesterday, and it's just like, don't tell me Florida is that is it either Florida's that good or is South Carolina that bad?
Well, listen, this was a Florida team that at one point was 1-11 in conference play. They're not exactly positioning themselves to be in the national championship or something along those lines. At least it doesn't seem like that. Like, this team had plenty of flaws, but they looked like the best team in America over the course of the last 3 days.
They are a much better team now than they were a few weeks ago. And again, it's the help of having to play Missouri that kind of got Florida going here.
Sure.
That was their first. That was a sweep for them, and they've been on a roll ever since with 4 straight series wins now. But South Carolina, I think South Carolina is just that bad. And yes, we can blame the players all we want, but like this weekend, I think falls squarely on the shoulders of the coaching staff, and it's a reflection of the job they've done this year. It just has not been good enough, and we got 2 weeks left to go in the regular season here. You're out of time in terms of getting into the postseason. Like, the only thing you can do now is literally just win the SEC tournament, which, judging how this year went, they're going one and done. I mean, it's just not happening. They are so out of their mind. It was just such an uncompetitive weekend.
You're going to be somebody's easy first game is essentially what you're setting yourself up to be, because Missouri saves you from being at the absolute floor of the SEC because they are 0-24 in conference play after Georgia swept them this past weekend. The difference is Missouri doesn't care about baseball. No. Missouri does not have a rich tradition when it comes to baseball. And I said this earlier, that I think it's almost terrible timing that the SEC storied on the Gamecock Baseball National Championship teams is going to air next week, because people are already upset enough about what the season ends. You're going to watch that and remember back to what this program used to be a little over a decade ago and get even madder.
It's just, I mean, even the handling of all that stuff this weekend with the celebrations and stuff, I felt like was very lame in comparison to the one that they had at the beginning of the year for Ray Tanner. It's just like, they had the 1975 team on the field for like what felt like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Introduced them all by name. That was it. Like no hype up video or anything. And then, I got to the ballpark a little bit late on Sunday, but they were supposed to honor the team, the 2010 and 11 teams, during the 6th inning on Saturday. That didn't end up happening. And so apparently they did right before the game, before I got there. But it's just,
if I'm that team, do I want to be honored at that series? Like, do I want to be honored in front of 12 people in the stands?
Yeah, and that's another thing, man. I'm on the fence about, fan support and all that stuff, and you should show up to the ballpark and all that, just to see this team play. I can't blame people for it. It has been a ghost town for midweek games for a little bit now, but like this weekend, man, it's incomparable. Like this weekend, no one was there. Nobody cares. Everyone is ready to see something change, and I didn't think we'd be saying that after last year. Like last year was bad, but people still showed up to the ballpark.
Sure.
It's just I don't know where you go.
The weather is nice. And, we had rain this past weekend, but we're in the area where we're in nice weather now as we move into spring and get closer to summertime. There's a lot of things to do around Columbia. I don't know why people would willingly go out there to watch a team that is not very good go get their teeth kicked in.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you say, man? It's just I don't know what to say. This team had opportunities this weekend. That's the other thing. They had so many chances to score runs, but they didn't do so. And you couple that with a pitching staff that gave up 39 runs, a little bit less than that with the earned runs. But so many things went wrong this weekend.
If you have a thought on the baseball team, where you're at with them, and if you still care or not, or care at all in general, 803-404-6100, Love Chevrolet phone lines, and Firehouse Subs text line. We'll hear from Coach Maneri coming up next and just kind of assess how bad it has gotten to this point and what this means historically for South Carolina baseball, and even Coach Maneri as well. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Monday here on The Game. Tyler Head here for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist. If you notice any of these issues with your home, you could have serious foundation problems. Those issues include cracks in your exterior brick, cracks in walls or above windows and door frames, doors and windows that might be sticky and even or bouncy floors, or cracks over your garage door. Again, any of these problems with your home could be signs of serious foundation issues. That's where our friends at Canty Foundation Specialist come in. Go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com. They'll send a professional out to your home to evaluate your foundation issues and get them fixed right so you and your family can live without worry going forward. Again, go online to schedule an appointment today at cantyconvicts.com for our friends over at Canty Foundation Specialist.
John, I think, you appeal to their pride, and they need to go out there every day and represent their university the best possible way. They can only do the best they can, and that, every kid has to look himself in the mirror and know if he's really doing the best he can, and if they are, that's all you can do.
Welcome back in. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you here on your Monday, breaking down what we saw over the weekend from Gamecock baseball, and obviously it wasn't pretty, and you hear the tone in Maneri's voice there, and I pointed this out many times. Look, beginning of the season, when you're beating the mid-majors, even after the loss to Clemson and stuff like that, Maneri is somebody that likes to talk a lot, likes to really go in depth and explain and really kind of try and help you understand his thought process on things and why things happen certain ways and all that kind of stuff. Yesterday, literally, he was at a loss for words. He didn't know what to say to you guys when you were asking him questions, which is very foreign considering what we've heard so many times in the past. But I think it's a sign of where he's at mentally right now and probably where this entire team is.
I mean, look, and I've heard it all year from him, I don't know what else to say nonsense that continued to get brought up yesterday in his quotes, transcribing it. And then also just, a little bit of the, I don't know how to put it, like, I guess, like the snarkiness in some of the comments and stuff. Like, for instance, I asked him yesterday, fairly so, about, why Blake Jackson, who reached base all 5 times in Game 1, did not start in Game 2. Now, I knew the reason, but just wanted to see if he would say anything else. And he didn't, of course. It was just the fact that, it was just because a left-hander was on the mound. Like, okay, great. It's just...
Here's my question. Do you have anything to lose by giving him another start yesterday?
No.
I get it's a lefty, but, can it really get worse?
The fact that we are talking about benching guys because a left-hander's on the mound is ludicrous. We are talking about a team that, again, they only scored 8 runs this weekend in 3 games and only had 3 runs in a doubleheader yesterday. So I don't think he has the option to not play guys because they did not, and again, Blake Jackson did nothing wrong. He got on base yesterday so many times. And yet we do have guys getting benched because they made an error yesterday. Like Jordan Carrion made an error. He got yanked out of that game. And then Caden Gaskin started in Game 2 and then went on to make an error himself. So it's just like, I don't know what to do in terms of like why are these guys just like, the lineup is always changing. And it's just like, I don't know.
They're throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's what it feels like.
Pretty much. And then they're punishing guys, it seems like, for, one little mistake. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're going back to the bench. It's the wrong way to go about it because baseball is one of those sports where you can be so streaky. And look, Jordan Carrion's been good with the glove all year. Blake Jackson has hardly gotten any reps this year. So the fact that we're talking about these guys not playing because they either made a mistake or the fact that there was a situation that called for someone else to be playing. It's not like Dalton Mayshore went out there yesterday and did anything against the left-handed pitcher. Then Blake Jackson eventually pinch hit in the middle of the game. So it is what it is. We're just talking about little things at this point, but it's stuff that does matter at the end of the day.
Want to get your thoughts, 803-404-6100. Head out to Love Chevrolet phone lines. Drew's been hanging on. Drew, appreciate your time and your call this morning. What's on your mind?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely no problem hanging on. This is kind of a different, I guess, direction. It's not directly tied to, this season, but just, I guess, kind of after Tanner became the AD as a whole, it's just very strange to me that after he became AD, and again, Holbrook seemed like a no-brainer hire. I think everybody thought that, especially since he helped kind of recruit those guys to the 2010, 2011, and even 2012, championship game. And I feel like he maybe kind of got ran out of town because the expectations, at that point were just so sky high. And then obviously you see what he's doing at the College of Charleston now, but it just seems kind of weird that for that to be his baby for so long and for him to let it go this down the drain just seems very strange to me. And I just kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the call there, 803-404-6100. We'll try to get some thoughts on the Firehouse Subs text line in just a second. I go back to last summer when they move on from Coach Kingston after they get bounced in the Raleigh Regional, and we went through that week to week and a half, however long it was, about the coaching search and talked about who they were going to get and the guys they were looking at. And again, Maneri came out of nowhere. Nobody had him on the radar, and apparently, according to both of them, he called Paul to talk about another candidate that had coached under Paul, and they ended up talking for so long that Maneri's like, hey, what if I just took the job? And it kind of went from there. And when we discussed this hire back then, we talked about it from the standpoint of, hey, Ray really needs to make a splash with what's likely going to be his last hire as an AD. And of course, a couple months later, we found out he was going to be stepping back from his athletic director role. But he needed somebody to restore the program to where it was. Because again, Holbrook, which made sense, didn't get it there. Kingston, they were okay, but never great. And Maneri had the pedigree, had the resume to be able to, in hindsight, or in theory, get them to where you want them to be, but it hasn't worked.
No, it hasn't. And I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I thought this was a good hire when it initially happened. I think I called it a grand slam hire by Ray Tanner. And again,
there was nothing that told you it wouldn't be.
Yeah. Again, I'll own up to it because, hindsight being 2020, I thought it was good. Like, you're bringing in a winning coach, and yes, he had been out of the game for 3 years, but the guy has won everywhere he's been. I think that's what we all forget. With how bad this year has been, he hasn't been this bad, I don't think, at any point in his coaching tenure. It's just so many things have gone wrong this year. And I think what we've learned throughout this year is that the game truly just has passed him by. Like, when you hear him talking on here last week about how he underestimated the SEC, I think that was the final nail in the coffin of, like, all right, like, we can confirm our suspicions. He was not ready to come back into college baseball and lead a team. Like, the game, again, it's changed so much. NIL is a thing. The transfer portal. These are things that were in the infancy stages when he was at LSU, and probably even right before it even like started to become a real thing. It just hasn't worked at all this year. And the thing about it is, Tyler, is that it leaves a much worse stain on Ray Tanner's time as AD at South Carolina. As if people have always thought it was bad to begin with, his time as AD after his coaching days ended, but it looks even worse now as we're talking about. Was this the worst hire that Ray Tanner's ever made? And people are going to say Will Muschamp, but in terms of baseball, I think this is by far the worst hire. And
baseball is always going to be put under a bigger microscope because that was your sport. That was the sport you excelled in. That was the sport you obviously led South Carolina to the mountaintop of. So your evaluation for what a good coach is supposed to be should be better than any other sport, right? And again, it's not that the Holbrook and Kingston teams were terrible, but they just weren't great. And again, greatness is what people came to expect with this program. And like you said, it seemed like a grand slam that, well, okay, of course, this guy that's won a national championship, been to Omaha a ton of times, always had consistently good, if not great teams at LSU. Surely he can come in here and make that happen here. And at this point, it hasn't happened.
No, it hasn't happened. There are so many reasons that are why this season has gone the way it has. And it would take a whole hour and a half to get into these, man. But it's just like there are so many things that have gone wrong to where it's like it's all muddled together into one ginormous snowball.
Yep.
And it's going down a cliff, and it's got no way of slowing down. Like, there's nothing that could stop what is like the fact that this season is just off the rails, and there's no recovering from this. It's just as bad as it could really ever get.
If you have more thoughts on baseball, hit us up. Lev Chevrolet phone lines, Firehouse subs text on 803-404-6100. I am producing, so I have to wait until the commercial breaks usually to answer the phones. But if you want to give us a call here in just a second, 803-404-6100. I do want to remind you, Upper Deck Golf is coming to Columbia May 9th and 10th. If you want to take an opportunity to win a family a VIP 4-pack tickets, go to our Facebook page at 1075 The Game and upload a picture of yourself attending a game at Williams-Brice Stadium, and we'll pick winners coming up tomorrow to notify you of who's going to be going to Upper Deck Golf in Willie B on May 9th and May 10th. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry continuing to peel off the Band-Aid that is Gamecock baseball on your Monday here on The Game. Jack, AAA.
Everyone knows that AAA Heating and Air has the best HVAC replacement options in the Midlands with their guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. They're hard to beat when you need a new system, but Did you know they also have great deals for repairs? That's right. If your system is broken and you're strapped for cash, AAA Heating and Air can help. They'll get your repairs done with payment options for up to 12 months and no credit check required. So if you are the homeowner, all you need is a valid bank account. That's it. That's all you need. So don't wait. Call AAA Heating and Air today and get your comfort back on track. AAA Heating and Air. Comfort you can trust.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry with you on your Monday here on the game, continuing to unpack what was a pretty miserable weekend for Gamecock baseball. I will remind you, though, there is still baseball left to be played, and if a Gamecock batter can manage to hit a Grand Slam, you can still win money from the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Pot currently up to $425. Unfortunately, if we were allowed to give away money for other teams hitting Grand Slams, then they would have given away a lot. By the way, go online to 1075thegame.com and register if you're not already. for the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway, because lost in the mix of all those runs scored yesterday, there was a Grand Slam by Florida.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw a few in the Texas A&M series. We've seen so many this year.
2 in 1 inning.
Oh, don't remind me, man. That was rough. But yeah, look, I mean, this weekend, again, so many Grand Slams hit. So many moments where it's just like, all right, Florida's a good team. They're getting hot at the right time. But also South Carolina, as we all know, is just not a very good team either. So it kind of just goes hand in hand.
I asked on the text line where people are at as of right now. KT from Lexington said the double Grand Slams in the 9th was the end of the season for him. Like, yeah, I get it.
I mean, yeah, like that. We're talking about A&M, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only time I can remember 2 Grand Slams being hit. Yeah, that weekend was probably it for me too, where I'm just like, this is really much worse than anyone has realized. And just hearing the answers that I got after that series, being the only guy there from the beat, and it's just like, I could have lived without hearing any of it, because it was a big nothing burger. And that's not what you want to hear from the leader of your program after a series in which you had a 10-run lead? I'm trying to remember.
They were up 12-5.
They were up 12-2.
12-2. That's right, 12-2.
They were up 12-5
going into the
6th inning.
They're up 12-5 going into, was it into the 9th or into the 8th?
They were up 12-5 going into the 9th.
Into the 9th. That's what it was.
Because A&M scored 8 runs to win the game.
Yeah, that's what it was. Trent weighs in and says, I've given up on the season, but definitely still care about Gamecock baseball. I'm not sure if we keep coach or not, but this season, coupled with some of his comments in press conferences, definitely don't instill the most confidence. And you just kind of alluded to it a moment ago there, where, you know, you're kind of going to the coach after the game saying, hey, what happened? And he just seems bewildered and lost, right? Mm-hmm. And look, we've all played on bad teams, right? At some level or another, you know, rec league, little league, high school, whatever it may be. And when your team is struggling, you look towards the leader, the coach, say, hey, how do we get out of this? How do we get better? And when the coach doesn't have any answers, everybody else loses faith, right? Because, like, well, if our leader doesn't know what's going on, how are we supposed to figure this out? And it really seems like that's where you're at here, where, again, Maneri was able to explain away some of the losses earlier on in the season. And look, they lost some games tight, right? There were some competitive games, bullpen let you down, or you shouldn't have some clutch hits in some key situations. And he said as much, you know, in those losses. But now it's to the point where he doesn't even, again, going back to his lack of detail yesterday, he doesn't even have anything to say about how these things are happening. It's just bewildering to him, and he just seems shell-shocked.
He looks like a deer in the headlights, you know, right now. It's just as bad as it can get. And, you know, I feel bad for the players. I really do, because this is like, okay, they do just, like, I think everyone has a part in this leading to the way it has gone this year.
Nobody's without blame to some degree.
Yes. But, I mean, when your leader says the things that he does in public, on air and stuff, the constant blaming of players, the reshuffling of the lineup, the stuff that probably happens behind closed doors too. I mean, it's just, it's a house that's on fire right now, and there's no amount of water that you can put into, you know, you can throw at it to try to, you know, stop the fire. It's raging on, and it does beg the question, like, where do you go from here? And for me personally, I think you are better off just finding a way to move on from it. But it's not as simple, you know?
No, it's not.
Because we've talked about before, there's a large buyout you're going to have to pay to him. You know, he's getting paid $1.3 million per year. This is the first year of a 5-year contract. Not to mention, if you get rid of him, you're also most likely getting rid of the assistants on staff. And that probably brings you to about $7 million. So I don't know if USC has the money, or if they even want to pay that right now for a buyout of that lump. But it's also like, do you just get him to resign potentially? I mean,
well, that's the thing, is he would have to walk away on his own.
That would have to be. That's the only solution, because I don't see him getting fired.
And look, I'm not inside Coach Maneri's head. I don't know what his thought process on this is, but that's what it would take at this point for something to change. Now, again, there's also the point that Jeremiah Donati did not hire him, so he does not have any ties to Coach Maneri. So if there were the ability to pull the trigger on something, Jeremiah Donati probably wouldn't have to hesitate on that because, again, no connection there. He's not the one that hired him. But we'll have to see. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors and stuff floating around out there that something can change, and until we see something concrete, we'll just say those are rumors at this point in time. But yeah, it would take Maneri walking away on his own to have somebody different at the helm next year, I think.
That's the only solution to if he's not going to be here next year. That's the only conceivable solution to getting this thing changed, because I don't see them firing him. Again, I cannot see them paying that much money for a buyout, including the rest of the coaching staff, but we'll see.
And to show you how rare this is for not only South Carolina but Coach Maneri, since South Carolina has joined the SEC, there's only been one season they did not hit double-digit conference wins, and that was Kingston's second year in 2019. Missed the postseason, the whole 9 yards there. Coach Maneri has not coached a team to less than double-digit conference wins since he was at Air Force back in 1994. This doesn't happen for either side here, which shows you how bad this is.
No, and I got the stat yesterday that South Carolina's never missed the SEC tournament.
They're lucky that everybody gets in this year.
They are lucky, because if this were under the old format where the bottom two teams don't make it, them in Missouri are having their own little party and not going anywhere.
By the way, do we know why they decided to extend it this year?
I don't know. I think it's just also to move it along a little bit, because it's now a single elimination.
Yeah.
Because the way it worked last year is that, like, for South Carolina, if they had lost in their first game against Alabama, they would have been done.
Right.
But because they won, they got double elimination after that. So it takes way too long, too many games. I think this just speeds it up a little bit. And why not include all 16 teams in this new-looking conference, right? You don't want to have the potential of leaving Oklahoma or Texas out if, God forbid, they were, like, that bad. But, of course, they're pretty good teams.
I'm not expecting a high contingent of Gamecock fans to make the trip out to Hoover, because I'm assuming you're going to be playing on Tuesday to open this thing up, likely in one of the first two games.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't expect you to stay very long if you even make it past the first game.
And, I mean, outside of last year, when does South Carolina ever stay long in Hoover? I mean, it's just
never.
It doesn't happen.
It's a place that's not treated you well.
No.
And, again, you go in there having to win the entire thing. Mm-hmm. There's no, well, if you make the Thursday or Friday, then you feel pretty good. Like, no, your only option to play baseball in the month of June or late May into June is to win the SEC tournament. Oh, by the way, the SEC looks about as strong as ever right now, so good luck.
Yeah, it's not happening. And when this season's over, we can point back to so many things, but it's just, I don't even know where you begin. There are a lot of problems. It's going to be a busy offseason, regardless of what happens at the top. It's going to be a busy offseason in the portal trying to get this thing right. And the one thing about next year is that I think we're going to see a pretty much entirely new roster, because, number one, I don't think you can run it back with the same head coach for next year, but I don't think you can run it back with a lot of the players for next year, because a lot of these, for as much as is made out about the players being at fault here, a lot of this is Maneri bringing in a lot of the guys on the team. Like, there are maybe, I think, 13 guys returning from last year's team, and yes, they've had injuries, but that's like the farthest excuse I could think of right now.
Well, and I do wonder, with how bad the season's been, how attractive is South Carolina next year? Because again, this past offseason with the guys that came in, a lot of them talked about, hey, that guy's won a national championship. That guy's been to Omaha. Obviously, Carolina's a place with a rich tradition. I don't know if you can have that same kind of buy this time, because people have seen a full season of it now. They're like, ooh, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then again, NIL can obviously sway people, but I don't know where South Carolina stacks up on NIL with other teams in the SEC. But that whole, hey, come play for Coach Maneri, come play for South Carolina, I don't think that has the same swing this upcoming offseason as it did the past year.
It's lost its touch in terms of, like, the golden facade of, this guy's been to Omaha so many times. He's won a College World Series. He's done this, and that. He's a winner everywhere he's been. That's no longer the case.
Not a winner right now.
Yeah, he is a loser at South Carolina in terms of the sense of, like, he just hasn't won enough games here at South Carolina. He's very well on the verge of, he's obviously going to finish under 500 in the SEC this year, potentially the worst conference record in program history. But there's also the potential this season could just be under 500 in general, which would have only, before that, 1996, 2022, this year. I mean, it's very well possible that could be the case. Currently sitting 3 games over 500. But, I mean, look, you got to really just kind of figure out where Paul's at, and then you got to figure out how to put together a good roster after that.
Well, it's been a lot of negativity for the first 45 minutes. There was some positivity on Gamecock sports fronts over the weekend, and that revolves around softball. With that coming up next as we wrap up hour number 1, it is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Beltry along with you on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Beltry. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on your Monday on the Game. Jack, I might actually start believing this Jack Veltri curse because this weekend it kind of lines up that way. Just laying it out here.
No, I don't blame you.
On Thursday, you're out at softball to watch them get run ruled 13-1. You go to baseball for the weekend, outscored on the weekend 39-8, and then softball proceeds to win their other two games in the doubleheader on Saturday, beating a ranked Alabama team to close out the regular season.
Well, softball better buckle up because my plan is to be there for the SEC tournament for softball. So
okay,
and no baseball in Auburn this weekend, not in person at least.
Yep.
So, I mean, look, I'll own up to it. I probably am some sort of bad luck, but can we also just say the baseball team is what it is, but softball just had a bad game, man.
See, yeah,
they made so many mistakes that I'm like, am I watching the baseball team out here? Because I thought the softball team was supposed to be good. I mean, that was my first time out there this year. I've been keeping up with them, but it's like I thought I was watching the baseball team out there.
That is the fundamental difference between those two teams because, and this isn't the first time, we've seen South Carolina softball get off to a bad start to the weekend. They lost. They got run-rolled by LSU in game number 1, came back and won that series. They lost game number 1 against Arkansas a couple weeks back, came back and won, game 2 in that one, though they ultimately did drop the series. But just because they have a bad game 1 doesn't always translate to how the rest of the weekend goes. And that's the difference between them and the baseball team, because the baseball team gets the weekend started off bad. The rest of the weekend's usually going to go pretty bad, as we saw this past weekend against Florida. So Coach Chastain Woodard's team is just able to shake off bad performances so easily and look like a brand new team the next game.
I will also just say, I think Ashley's done a fantastic job this season, but I'm not going to lie, hearing her in a press conference on Thursday, she's honest. She's just as brutally honest as Paul Maneri is, if not even more honest. Like, she was saying, like, this is disappointing, this is frustrating, players didn't do enough, they have to be better, all this and that. And then they go out there and do their thing. And I think part of it is, Ashley seems to be so encouraging on the field and stuff, and very much for the players. She's also a younger head coach. She's this is her first gig as a head coach at South Carolina. I guess she was at Charlotte, but this is her first chance in the SEC to really show what she can do, and she is passing with flying colors right now. And the way they were able to bounce back in the next 2 games is very impressive because, again, Thursday they got run ruled. They made 3 errors. They made a base running mistake on the base paths. And they had opportunities with runners in scoring position, just could not drive anything in. And then you get into the last 2 games of this series. I think it starts with the pitching. Pitching was so much better. Sam Gress was phenomenal in that 3-1 win. And then, she gets the start in game 2, but she only goes an inning and a third. And then Neely Lamb, one of the transfers from Charleston Southern, comes in and just dominates the rest of the way, and then you get enough timely offense to where you can pull off the victories. And I think it's a very impressive showing that Alabama's been one of the better teams in college softball for years and years now, and they still are this year. But South Carolina really had an impressive weekend after such a bad showing in that first game.
Yeah, shout out Sam Gress, like you said, takes the mound on Thursday, only goes third of an inning, gives up 5 hit and 6 earned runs. Then on Saturday, or between the next 2 games, pitches a total of 8 1/3 innings, only giving up 7 hits and 2 earned runs over the course of those 2 entire games. So again, being able to just flip that switch, say, bad performance in game number 1 or whatever it was, but that's not going to linger into game number 2, and the entire team takes that on.
And that's the thing you want as a team. You want to be able to have short-term memory and just flip the switch and move on. But they did so, and now we're talking about this team. I think they're all but a lock to host a regional, potentially be a top 8 seed, because they needed to win the series going into this weekend after losing the series prior at Auburn. And we'll see what they do in the SEC tournament, but it's not like they have to go out here, win the whole tournament, and be in a position to get a bet. Like, they can probably improve their seeding, but yeah, I think at this point, they're probably right in the mix to be a top 8 seed.
Yeah, it would obviously benefit them to win a couple games out there in Athens to secure one of those top 8 seeds. They were 10th in bracketology last week, but yeah, they're not going in there fighting for their lives into Athens this week, and what's going to be a tough tournament. They will play their first game on Wednesday night. That's probably going to be what do you say, 7:30-ish probably, if I'm looking at the schedule
Yeah,
here.
because it starts at, 11, the tournament. So these games are 2 hours. There's probably like a little bit of a break in between. So they are the last game on Wednesday. And funnily enough, they'd play either Alabama or Auburn in the game on Wednesday. So, again, my plan is to go out there right now. We'll see if that changes. But if they lose on Wednesday, I will wear this thing on the chin and be like, man, this just is my fault. And I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Tournament gets rolling tomorrow afternoon with Georgia and Kentucky. First pitch at 1 o'clock, which you can watch on the SEC Network. Hopefully you can find some time to relax today. Maybe enjoy some Cinco de Mayo to get your mind off of what you witnessed at Founders Park this weekend.
Shoot, man. I think a margarita is probably calling my name. So we'll see, man. But this is a good conversation to have and ready to talk about many other things tomorrow, hopefully.
That'll do it for hour number 1 of the Extra Point. Coming up next, hour number 2, Sam Shapiro hopping in here with me. We'll continue talking some Gamecock baseball and softball as well here on The Game. Welcome back in hour number 2. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head, Sam Shapiro now hanging out as he does each and every Monday. Told you a moment ago, happy Cinco de Mayo. You're in a unique situation, as you brought up to me a moment ago, didn't think about it, that this is kind of like your weekend. So a Cinco de Mayo on a Monday is actually kind of perfect for you, right?
It's the best recipe for a great Saturday, as many people would not be able to say. So after this, I will be going to get some tacos and maybe a margarita.
So you margarita guy?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like a good house marg is always fine, but I'm a big mango guy.
Okay.
So if they got a mango marg on the menu, I'm usually go to for that. If they got peach, big fan of that also.
Yeah.
Say watermelon's like a close third, but
My wife, and look, we don't drink a lot. You know, it's occasionally, or hanging out with friends or whatever. She didn't realize the potency of margaritas. She recently had her first one. I don't even remember when it was, not all that long ago, but, you know, hits pretty quick. She's like, whoa. I'm like, yeah, that's margaritas.
especially when you get like a slushy one or like a
For
frozen
one,
one.
where you can't taste the alcohol as much, those are dangerous.
Absolutely
She's like, oh,
dangerous.
it's just like drinking a soda or whatever.
You usually get like a fruit blast or, you know, a salt or sugar rim, whatever you're feeling that day of the week. For me, it really depends. I could go either or, but it's the fruity flavored ones are always are my go-to, but if it's got to have tequila.
Yeah, well, of course. Anything sweet tasting for me, I can put down very quickly, and yeah, that's where it becomes very dangerous. If you don't get that alcohol taste on the back end, then you're like, oh, I could drink like 4 of these, and then you forget where you are.
Yeah, the alcohol taste definitely helps slow down the rate at which it's consumed and how much of it is probably consumed.
Yep.
But I've also learned from experience, the less sweeter you go, the better the headache you would get in the morning is, you know, maybe gonna be.
Well, I think a lot of people in the Gamecock fandom right now may be partaking in Cinco de Mayo to help them forget about what's been an abysmal weekend, particularly for baseball. And look, Jack and I spent the last 45 minutes talking about it, but it's the news of the day, and it's the topic that everybody obviously wants to talk about. It's bad, man. I really don't know any other way to describe it.
Look, anytime you're letting up double-digit runs in a baseball game in general, it's usually going to be some sort of carnage, bloodbath, but 22 runs in that second game over the course since Friday, oh my goodness.
That should never happen.
No.
Like, for one, you shouldn't get run ruled in conference play to begin with, and technically yesterday's game did not count as a run rule because you did play all 9 innings, which shows you how egregiously bad the top of the ninth was, the fact that you gave up 11 runs, but you should never be getting beat that bad in the SEC in general. And the fact that it's happened multiple times, and I'll count yesterday's as a run rule because, again, you lost the game by 19 runs. Like, I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. Again, if Maneri wants to walk away, that's up to him. I don't think he's going to get fired or anything along those lines, but you've got a long way to go to get back to the top, which is not what we expected to say about this team at this point in the year, because we thought he was going to be the guy to come in and get it back on track.
Yeah, unfortunately, the series with Florida, it's not like Florida is a shining program in the SEC either. So if there was any...
They've played better as of late, but they're not top dog.
Right. So I'm saying, like, this baseball team should have pulled one game out of this 3-game series with Florida. And after that second and third game, I mean, you got to just... At this point, it's just kicking the can down the street at this point.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, this team making the NCAA tournament was a long shot, and we positioned it going into the weekend. Hey, theoretically, you'd have to win 8 out of your last 9 in the regular season or go on a crazy run in Hoover in a couple weeks and win the SEC tournament, which we didn't think was going to happen. But again, the possibilities existed, so you do have to present it that way. But even just winning one game this weekend would have not... I don't want to say alleviated concerns, but wouldn't have been as embarrassing, right? Because you say, okay, you lost the series, but at least you managed to win one game. At least you didn't get swept again. But that's not what happened. You got swept, and you got swept in dominating fashion. You get demolished by 19 runs in game 1, and then you just don't even show up in game 2 and lose 8-0.
And it almost kind of takes away from, they still got 6 games left this regular season. It almost kind of takes away from what they could do even in those contests against Auburn, Winthrop, and LSU. I mean, even if they came out and won all those games, I think people would go, would be scratching their heads a little bit, kind of like, where was this, a couple of weeks ago?
But at that point, it doesn't matter.
Right. It was almost like that run the 49ers went on way back when I think Garoppolo joined the team randomly, and then they won out the rest of the the regular season, and people were like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
It almost kind of takes away from that, and I think at least if you pulled away with one win this weekend, if you did see some sort of success even in these last 7 games, people would be a lot more excited, or would have less of a reason for that extra margarita this Cinco de Mayo.
Well, let's hear from Coach Manieri and what he described was a stunningly bad performance all weekend long for his baseball squad.
Well, thank you. I think that's a compliment. Yeah, believe me, for 40 years, every day hasn't been easy. So I've unfortunately have a lot of experience of some bad days, rough days. It's not about me. It's about the kids. I'm here for the kids, not for me. And, I just wish we'd have played better. The biggest thing, you are what you are. You're not going to make guys all of a sudden throw 98 miles an hour. You can't all of a sudden make guys hit the ball 450 feet. But we had some defensive lapses today, which I think is the most disappointing thing to me, because you can deal with whatever your so-called limitations are, but it's not that hard to field a ground ball. Those are things that any player should be able to do. So yeah, it was just in every aspect of the game, we just didn't play very well today, and consequently we lost 2 games.
What is the worst team that you've ever played on or competed with or whatever, like in your athletic career, baseball, basketball, football, whatever? What's the worst team you think you ever played on?
So when I was in middle school, I played a little bit of AAU type basketball. Me and my brother were on this team. It was the same coach, and it was one of those, the best player on the team, in quotation marks, was the coach's son.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, pretty solid coach, but his son was not the best player on the team. He was one of the better players on the team, but had to play point guard, was taller than most of the team.
Yeah.
And all 3 years we played on the team with him, we made the championship, but got absolutely destroyed all 3 years in the championship. And each year, it was a different reason. One year, the other team had a 6-footer, which in middle school is insane.
Yeah.
The other year, I forget what happened the second season, but the third season, I just remember hitting the first shot in the game, and then literally everything after that just completely hitting the fan. Kind of similar to the second baseball contest from Saturday, but everything kind of after the first inning hit the fan. But
now with that coach, when things were not going well, did you still feel like he had everything under control? Did you still feel like you had confidence in him leading you to where you eventually wanted to be?
After the first championship, yes, just because how are you going to guard a 6-foot tall 7th grader? But that third championship, I was I was kind of looking at my brother like, hey man, I don't know how this is going to go, but we need to change the game plan, and if it's the same that it was in the first 2 championships, we're going to lose, and we lost.
So when I was in 6th grade playing Little League Baseball, played on the Mets, and I was on the team with one of my friends, and his grandfather coached us. Now, again, you kind of assume everybody that's coaching rec league baseball kind of knows the game, right? Well, this coach did not. He made crazy, irrational decisions, moving guys in and out of the lineup. Cost us a ton of games by poor managing. And just overall, we weren't the most talented team in the world anyway, but I lost confidence in the coach like halfway through the season. My dad was an assistant coach, and he's like, this guy does not know what he's doing. And it was very clear by the way we were losing games. So I couldn't turn to my head coach at any point that year to look for confidence, to look for hope that we were going to get things better. And again, Paul Manieri has forgotten more baseball than either one of us will ever know in our entire lives. And I'm not saying that he doesn't, but if I'm on this team and I hear the way Coach Maneri's talking about his team and why they're losing games, I don't know if that instills a lot of confidence in me right now.
Oh, I would,
because I don't see it.
No, I mean, I was actually just going to say, based off that cut, he kind of just sounded defeated a little bit in a way.
He did,
and
he didn't know what to say. Which he's a guy that likes to talk. He likes to explain his thought process and really go into the details of things. Which for the majority of the season, that's what he's done in these press conferences. And to talk for 5 minutes yesterday and only go past 30 seconds one time is very unlike him.
It was just very, the undertone of what he was trying to say was very Eeyore, like from Winnie the Pooh, just very, we couldn't get ground balls, we couldn't hit, the undertone of it was just very like, so how are you going to encourage this squad, to get through the rest of the regular season? You still got to play those games.
You do. And the thing is, yes, on the field, it is the player that is making the play. Fielding the ground ball, getting the pop fly, making the hit, whatever it may be. But also as a coach, it is your job to have them to a point where those things don't become issues. And look, we've seen errors become a problem for this team this year. We've seen this team fail to make big hits in key situations when the game's on the line and that kind of stuff. That does go back to coaching to some degree because you're supposed to get the most out of the talent that you have to where they succeed in those situations. And unfortunately, this team hasn't done that.
Yeah, I just think the whole getting the team fired up aspect, getting everybody to kind of rally around and, boost morale even when, you can still take accountability of mistakes and move forward instead of, kind of harping on them and not, you can emphasize on those mistakes and use that to kind of continue moving forward without, this kind of, without bringing people, you can harp on the mistakes without bringing people down. And I think that this is not, the situation right here definitely doesn't help, especially when you let up 22 runs in one game.
Yep.
But I think that you need to take it one day at a time and just say, okay, what do I need to do the next day to prepare for, the next contest on, I believe, Thursday.
Well, and you get to this point of the year with a team like this, and everybody starts thinking for themselves, right? It's like, okay, we're not playing for anything. What can I do to benefit my situation the most? For some guys, that's going to the transfer portal. For some guys, that's deciding to go and try their hand in Major League Baseball because you don't see this team as successful right now. The ship is sinking. Do you want to stay on and see if it can get better, or do you want to go somewhere else and hopefully find a better opportunity for yourself? Like, that's where minds start to go when you're in this big of a hole.
Yeah, when the team ball is not looking pretty, people are going, what do I have to do to set myself up for success so that I can, get to a program where that is, kind of the best case. And unfortunately, we see that in all sports, and that's why, I feel like teams are not as unselfish as they are anymore, and NIL doesn't necessarily help in that case scenario, but it also does create more opportunity for, players to kind of explore that. So hopefully that'll lead to, seeing more successful programs popping up left and right and in all different conferences and next to the woods like that.
We'll see what happens. Like you said, back in action on Thursday, taking on Auburn, late game, 8 o'clock first pitch, 7:45 pregame, which you can listen to here on the game in Columbia, as well as 100.3 the game out in Myrtle Beach. A lot of negativity so far this morning because of the baseball team. Let's cheer things up a little bit. Let's let you hear Xavier Legette at the Kentucky Derby because I guarantee you it will indeed make your day. That's coming up next. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Head and Sam Shapiro on your Monday here on the game.
Sovereignty is coming with him on the outside. The two of them go right by with a furlong to run. Journalism and Sovereignty, nose to nose, down to the last 16th of a mile. Sovereignty has taken the lead. Journalism is second toward the inside. Baez is third, but it will be Sovereignty to rule the Kentucky Derby. Journalism and Baez over next. Final Gambit was fourth. The final time was 2:02.31 seconds.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Sam Shapiro with you on your Monday here on the game. That was the call at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Sovereignty winning the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby, beating out the favorite in Journalism. Were you all over at WIS cheering extra hard for Journalism, given, the name?
I was definitely pulling for him a little bit, but I thought it was funny that he had a 1-3 odds, finished top 3. Yeah, it hurt a little bit.
Yeah, and look, there have been plenty of jokes about Journalism being beat over the weekend that I'm sure you can go and find on Twitter if you want to. Horse racing is so interesting, and I've gotten the opportunity to go out to the Carolina Cup the past couple of years, so I've actually been around it a little bit now, so I have even greater appreciation for it. But it's weird watching the Kentucky Derby because you can be somebody that does not care about horse racing 364 days out of the year. But when they line up and they come out of the gates for the running of the Kentucky Derby for that 2-ish minutes of that race, your heart starts beating, right? Like, you don't even have to be betting on a horse. Like, oh, man, look at these moves. Oh, they're coming down the wire. It's going to be a photo finish. Like, any sports fan, I feel like, it's caught up in the excitement and drama of what the Kentucky Derby is.
So I never understood, growing up in New York City, I never really truly understood, the beauty behind the sport, equestrian and in general, horse racing, the whole nine. I didn't truly get, any kind of inkling of an appreciation for it until covering the Camden Cup last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or the Carolina Cup, excuse me. It's in Camden.
Well, the Camden Cup's in the fall.
Yeah.
Carolina's in the spring.
Right. So, I mean, just going there that weekend, I was kind of like, oh, my God, this is like the Kentucky Derby, like under a microscope compared to, what it actually
is.
It is. So I was just kind of like, okay, now I can kind of – that was when I kind of understood where the money, at least for, an event like the Derby, comes from. When you have tradition like that on such a bigger scale, I mean, that's the beauty in sports, really. And that was one con, growing up in New York City, just not being exposed to unique niche sport events like that. Like, I know we were talking off air earlier, NASCAR, my first experience with that was maybe like 2-3 years ago at Watkins Glen International.
Sure.
So, being in a big urban environment like that, you're not exposed to, really cool, unique kind of sport environments like the Derby.
There is like horse racing once you kind of get away from the metro of New York, though. Like, I feel like it's a pretty prevalent thing throughout other parts of the state, though, right?
Well, yeah, they've got some stuff in upstate New York, but it's still not the same.
Yeah.
It's still not the same. Like pickup basketball in New York City also is just different than, trying to go play anywhere else. Growing up, I'd walk out of my house, walk 5 blocks to the park, and there was one summer I'd go 10 o'clock in the morning, leave 6 o'clock at night. And you can't really do it the same way anywhere else that you could there. I mean,
sure.
Most places you got to drive to a court or, take a plethora of transportation or carpool with somebody. Yeah. So it's just like different necks of the woods having different ways of carrying stuff out makes you appreciate it a lot more. And having a tradition like the Derby continue on, especially for 151 years, I mean, it makes sense.
A little bit of a bummer because it was raining and muddy and you didn't see, people were like had the rain things on or whatever, so didn't see quite as many eccentric outfits as you would if the weather was nice and all that kind of stuff. A lot of celebrities there. Simone Biles did the calling of the riders. Livy Dunn was there. A lot of famous people. DJ Khaled was there. All that kind of stuff. So always neat to see who shows up to it. But perhaps the most interesting person that ended up on the grounds at Churchill Downs this past weekend was our one and only Xavier Leggett. And he ran into a lot of people, perhaps none more interesting than the one and only Guy Fieri.
I got a couple questions for y'all today. All right. Oh, well, I know you're a chef, my man.
Right.
How you feel about cooking some raccoon?
You know what? We were just having a raccoon cooking conversation the other day. And a buddy of mine swears he is like the raccoon chef.
Oh, yeah.
No, really. He was giving me a whole rundown on it. So, no, I would be down with it. My motto is, we're both hunters. And our motto is, if you're going to hunt it, you got to eat it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, I think, are you a raccoon chef?
Yes, sir.
Give me the breakdown on it. What's the marinade? I want to hear this.
Oh, yeah. So man, we got a little secret now. I can't give it to everybody.
You can't give me the secret?
I can't give you the secret.
As chefs, we share as chefs.
Hey, I can't give you the secret now because it's some down in the bottom South Carolina type of cooking, you know what I'm saying? But I can tell you how we do it, though. We put it in the pressure cooker, let the meat fall off the bone, put it in the oven until we gonna chop it up first now. All right. I'll tell you, we put some little crushed peppers on it and all that now.
Okay.
Let that marinate in there. And that's how
But it's good eating.
Oh, yeah, it's good eating now.
Huh. So you're not going to kick down on that raccoon recipe, huh? We're talking about this offline? Yeah. This isn't for you guys right now.
I need a Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives in Mullins, South Carolina, where Xavier Legette, sorry, I keep saying it wrong, can show Guy Fieri how to properly cook raccoon.
I didn't know that properly cooked raccoon also required crushed peppers.
Well, it's spice. I mean, you can spice any meat. Gives a little extra heat to it.
It was fall off the bone, crushed peppers. It's got to be pretty good, though.
Listen, I've never eaten raccoon in my life, but if Xavier Legette made it for me, I'd try it.
The amount of clips that are now on the internet of this man talking about eating raccoon, coming home, cooking it. I mean, he clearly grew up on this. He clearly grew up on it.
Listen, there is nothing inauthentic about Xavier Legette, which is what made this weekend so cool. He was, and this has got to be the first time this has ever happened, the NFL social media correspondent for the Kentucky Derby. So there are clips all weekend long of him talking to other celebrities and talking to Marty Smith and stuff like that from ESPN. Like, he had the time of his life. But again, he's being himself, which is what I think why so many people are endeared by it, because like he is him, right? And we didn't see that as much as South Carolina. One, because he didn't really emerge until towards the end of his career here, and two, he's very quiet. But and I don't know what it is. Maybe he was working with a new media relations person or just got media training as he made his transition. But, man, that guy is not afraid to be in front of cameras and microphones and all that kind of stuff. And you get him near a horse or you get him on a farm or something like that, and he's just in his happy place.
He's a character I feel like we're going to see just for a long time pop up on a lot of random different advertisements, cameos, whatnot. I don't know if you saw the clip of him talking to Jason Worth about horses from the red carpet. But just looking at the two of them, the outfits they were wearing, I mean, Jason Worth looks like he's coming out of Beetlejuice, and Xavier Legette has the denim fits of all denim fits on, head to toe, and then I couldn't quite see the cowboy boots before, but
I'll let you hear from Xavier himself on what exactly he was rocking that day.
Oh, excuse me.
Can you break down your derby outfit for us? You look great.
Oh, yeah, I got that denim on denim Louis V. I got the ostrich boots, the ostrich belt. I threw the L on it for the league, my last name.
There you go. Denim on denim, hard to pull off. The old Canadian tuxedo look.
So actually, a lot of my friends in college loved that look. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of times, a lot of holiday celebrations where it was just a sea of denim. And this is my first time seeing the denim on denim probably in at least 2 to 3 years. So this kind of had some sentimental flashbacks for me.
From the sounds of it, it was Louis Vuitton denim. So
definitely not.
It's probably more pricier than any denim we'll ever see in our lives. But when you're a first-round draft pick, you can swing those kind of things.
Yeah, I wish. Well, at least for I wish I had some Louis Vuitton denim.
Oh, listen, if I could afford it, I'd take it. But yeah, that's not my budget, unfortunately.
Between him and Don Staley, South Carolina is not short on denim. At least designer denim.
I would say he and Don might be able to denim shop together at Louis.
They got to get a South Carolina Louis Vuitton collab at least in the works somehow. I mean,
that'd be cool.
Now you got all these South Carolina alumni that now are in the WNBA and are on national television and want to flaunt designer brands. So hey. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, we'll see. By the way, Aja Wilson, her own shoe is dropping here coming up very soon. They aired the commercial for it over the weekend.
I'm excited because they looked really nice. I I like the different shades of pink they work into it, but it's also not doing too much. Like, I don't know if you've seen like Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards sneakers. It's doing too much with like that foam posit material, but like they're trying to make it look like a cloud or like a sports car. I just, with basketball shoes especially, just please have decent ankle support and traction. Those are the two. I never understood why players would make shoes that don't have good traction or good ankle support.
Sure.
It's the best way you're going to play the game most efficiently.
Absolutely. But again, A'ja Wilson's shoe coming out here very soon, and pretty cool commercials out there. If you've not seen it already, you can go to the Nike, I believe, Twitter account and see that got posted yesterday. Oh, coming up next, we'll see who sprung a leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. Also, discuss a rookie asking some bold questions to some veterans for him from his new NFL home. What that coming up next is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Sam Shapiro on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head, Sam Shapiro, along with you on your Monday here on the game. It is time for Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. I got a couple candidates for this, actually. It's very obvious we have to include Gamecock baseball in this. They had a disastrous weekend. They got outscored 39-8 over the course of 3 games in conference play. Like, that should never happen. If that's not springing a leak, I don't know what is. Like, that was egregiously bad. Can we agree on that?
I was going to say that's not springing a leak. That's like the dam just completely burst.
Yeah, the dam broke. Like, there's nothing holding it in at this point. My other candidate, though, I don't know if you stayed up to see this one. Last night, Game 7, Western first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Winnipeg Jets, in double overtime, beat the St. Louis Blues 4-3. At the start of the third period, the Blues had a 3-1 lead.
Oh, no.
They blow that. Cole Perfetti gets a goal with like 3 seconds left in regulation to send the game to overtime. Again, they play an overtime and a half, basically, before Adam Lowry finally gets the winning goal for the Winnipeg Jets. Remember all those classic, you blew a 3-1 lead jokes from 10 years ago?
It's back.
Yeah. In a similar type of way, the St. Louis Blues blew a 3-1 lead to lose Game 7 last night to the Winnipeg Jets.
And the Jets, I believe, hit that third goal to send the game into overtime with like
it was
5
right there
seconds.
at the end.
5 seconds left in the third period.
Like 3 seconds left. Backs completely up against the wall. The crowd went nuts. Crowd went nuts when they won the game, too. Like, you don't have to be a hockey fanatic to enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs because those atmospheres, it's the closest thing to a college football atmosphere in professional sports, in my opinion, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially when you're in Canada. For Winnipeg or Montreal or Toronto or whatever it may be, like, obviously they're in Winnipeg last night, and, man, that environment's just crazy.
I was driving, I was parked, and I saw the clip this morning, and they were showing a post-game desk reacting to the end of the game.
Yep.
And you're just watching all 4, guys just literally pulling all the hair out of their head because they are in just absolute disbelief of what transpired. And quite honestly, I can't blame them. I mean, that's like the most storybook ending to a sports game, or a hockey match, rather, ever. So, it's cool. It's exciting. It's always a good thing to see. And, very, I feel bad for the Blues. They're probably feeling a bit blue this morning.
Again, there went their chance. Game 7, you had the lead by 2 goals, and you blew it there in the third period. Speaking of things that people may not be able to believe, Rob Gronkowski upset with a particular rookie on the New York Jets and the audacity to ask for a veteran's number.
Yeah, they got Abdul Carter. Yeah, I think with the third pick in the draft, who's going to be a star. But was he serious? Was he serious asking for LT's number? Yeah, you were a high draft pick, but LT is an absolute legend, the best to do it, one of the best defenders of all time. And let me tell you, brother, like, you got to prove yourself. That's crazy, just asking for LT's number. And I'm glad that LT shut him down like that.
So Abdul Carter did get taken 3rd overall by the New York Giants, as many people assumed that he would. And look, dude was a monster at Penn State. That playoff game, he basically played with one arm and looked as dominant as he ever did, right? In the game, they ended up losing to Notre Dame, but great player. We all expect him to be really, really good at the NFL level. But to come in, not even been there a week, and ask for the number of perhaps the greatest defensive player football's ever seen to grace you with the ability to wear his number in your rookie year, whoo, especially in New York now. New York media is tough. You know this. You're getting off on the wrong foot. Let me tell you that much.
I mean, at least he was asking under the same club the number. Well, it's all generally within the Giants fandom, but I think, I don't know. I was thinking about this on the way over here, and maybe Malik Neighbors could have maybe made him think that was okay, just because Malik Neighbors was able to get number 1 last year when it was formally retired, decades ago. But I mean, LT is probably one of the greatest Giants of all time. That's a big ask. It's one thing, if that player comes forward and kind of gives you that green light, but Yeah, I think it was a little bit too early of an ask. I think, you come out in preseason and maybe you show something that's different, but I think Neighbors asking for that number and getting it maybe made him feel some sort of way that, maybe if I ask, worst case he's just going to say no. But I still think it was a bit of a bold ask, too, considering you're asking for one of the best player in the franchise's number.
And I'm not a fan of asking players for their number in general, especially as a rookie. And I get it. Like I said, the Malik Neighbors thing, that was ended up working out in his favor. And maybe that is what inspired the confidence in Abdul Carter. But, man, that is a bold thing to ask. Then he asked Phil Simms, too, for number 11, because he wore 11 when he was at Penn State, who also got denied by that. And here's my thing. I would want personally to create my own legacy, right? Like if I feel like I'm going to be the greatest defensive player this organization's ever seen, I want a number to be associated with me. Because, again, we think 56, we think Lawrence Taylor. We think 11 with the Giants. We think Phil Simms. Because, again, those guys were great. And they obviously earned the opportunity to have those numbers retired. So if I'm, Abdul Carter and I take 44 or something like that, guess what? My goal is to get 44 retired one day. Because guess what? If you're an amazing player, 56 is already retired. You don't get that added extra legacy. And people are already going to associate it with Lawrence Taylor anyway. So why not blaze your own trail and carve your own path with your own number that people will be talking about you being associated with one day down the line?
Yeah, I think LeBron is a funny example in this just because, his number's always been 23, but we all know that originally wasn't his pick too. But, went to Miami, got 6, and now, he was a big reason why I wore number 6 growing up as a kid and probably why a lot more kids growing up now are probably sporting that number. But to your case in point, just cementing that own, your own identity, your own legacy. At least when he went to Miami, I felt like that was kind of his sense in doing that, and that was what inspired me to ultimately become a fan of him. So I get why he would want to, be in the good graces of, those that came before him. But you're a rookie. You haven't even proved yourself. I would want, like you said, to kind of make my own marks, cement my own legacy, and kind of take my own number.
Yeah, and look, if he's around for 10 to 15 years, multi-time Pro Bowler and set all kinds of records, stuff like that, and then you want to have that conversation, okay, sure. Maybe you want to close out your career wearing 56, or something like that. Okay, that's a different story. But, again, as a rookie, I think and again, especially in a place like New York, where, again, the fan base is ready to turn on you at the drop of a dime, I don't think you're getting off on the right foot here.
I think there should be a rule that if you want to sport a number that's retired, you have to at least get through your first 2 seasons, and in one of those 2 seasons, at least be some sort of proven all-star, just because then at least you're building some sort of minimal resume to say, hey, I want to be in the good graces of, the legends that came before me. It at least strengthens your argument and doesn't make you look ignorant like, Carter kind of did in this case, especially asking Simms for 11.
Because, again, organizations retire numbers because they recognize the greatest player we've ever had to sport this number played for us, and we don't want anybody else to use that because nobody's going to be better than them. So, again, you're almost kind of saying, well, I think I'm going to be better than him, and I get self-confidence, but you got to go out there and prove it. So we'll see where Abdul Carter lands on a number here.
Times have changed, and I feel like 10 years ago, players would not have the audacity to even ask. Like, they would just, out of respect, not want to, tarnish the legacy the player before them, use with that number. I'm just thinking like there are some players that would say, oh, what if I don't, live up to the standard of the player that wore that number before me? And now they're almost kind of tarnishing the legacy and why that number was retired in the first place. So I don't really know why that's not more of a concern to players now. And it's interesting to see how, testy some of these rookies now in today's age have really gotten.
Yeah, again, we'll see where Abdul Carter lands, but definitely making a bold statement by asking for some of those things in his first week on the job out there in New York. We'll come back and wrap up the hour, talk some NBA playoffs as we've got one round in the books. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Sam Shapiro along with you on your Monday here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Ed and Sam Shapiro along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Reminder, you watched football at Williams-Brice Stadium. Now you have a chance to play golf inside of it. Upper Deck Golf coming to Columbia May 9th and 10th. You have a chance to win a VIP 4-pack of tickets. If you go to our Facebook page, 1075 The Game, and upload a picture of yourself attending a game inside Williams-Brice Stadium, we'll notify our winners coming up tomorrow, May the 6th, on who's going to win those tickets for May 9th and 10th for Upper Deck Golf over at Williams-Brice Stadium. NBA playoffs continue to roll on over the weekend. Had a couple Game 7s. Starting off on Saturday night, Nuggets take care of the Clippers pretty easily, 120-101. Sam, did you hear Russell Westbrook describe the Russell Westbrook experience after the game?
I actually didn't.
I want to play this clip for you because I appreciate the honesty, by the way, of Russell Westbrook describing what it's like to watch Russell Westbrook.
I think a lot, as much as people may not think. I'm very smart, and I understand the game. I understand what's going on. So I am thinking. And I also, just a force, man. I think it's, my ability to be able to be a force in nature on the floor is what I pride myself on. So whatever that looks like, it may be a turnover, it may be a missed shot, but it may be a steal, maybe a dunk, maybe a missed three. Maybe a made three. It's gonna be all of that. It's gonna be everything. So you just take it for how it comes, and whatever happens, you go with it. And I've always been like that. As long as I leave it on the floor, and God willing, to be able to go out and continue to compete, I'm grateful for it.
Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. Russ Westbrook, I'm the smartest player on the floor. I do not agree with that statement. I definitely don't think he's the smartest player on the floor. Some of the shots he takes, he'll be like mid-shooting it, and I'll go, what, why? No.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said. Sometimes, hey, maybe it's made three, maybe it's a missed three, maybe it's turnover, maybe it's a steal. Like, you just don't know, and I guess that's what's exciting about watching him. And again, he's coming off the bench now for the Nuggets, but had a solid game number 7, 16 points, made over 50% of his shots. Go back to, let's see, what game was that? Game 1, where he was 33% from the field. Game 3, where he only made 3 points. It's just up and down. 4 turnovers in game number 4. You just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, he is, as Forrest Gump said, he's very much like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I feel like shooting over 50% in that game is pretty good for him. He's not really, I think, the most consistent shooter, but he's still very athletic, very explosive on those plays where he does come up. He does come up big, and it is, does have that highlight factor to it. But I think he's good behind Jamal Murray on this squad, kind of being a supporting cast member coming off the bench, especially for this backcourt. And people also, I at least forgot this team isn't playing with their head coach they've been having all year. They're still.
Which again, that's still really weird, right?
It's kind of unbelievable that they even took this Clippers team to 7 games just because, I don't know, James Harden, Paul George is not a cakewalk by any means necessary. So props to this Denver team for making it work. But Russell Westbrook has definitely been a dark horse, positive addition, especially to this bench.
Other game 7 last night, Warriors take care of the Rockets 103-89. Game that the Rockets, they made interesting. They narrowed the gap quite a bit, made it close at points, but the Warriors a little bit too much for them. And how about Buddy Hield, 9 of 11 from three-point range, made half of the team's threes last night. Steph Curry added 4 of his own, but Buddy cooking last night to help the Warriors win.
He was unbelievable. I think he's 12 of 17 from the field and had 37 points. Or
12 of 15 from the field.
12-15, yeah. And then he had that 42-foot buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter. Yeah, he was lights out last night, and he showed, quite honestly, what people do need to be afraid about in terms of this Warriors team, in terms of their depth. I think a lot of people on the surface were just looking at it like, Curry and Butler, Batman and Robin kind of thing, and then, Draymond's just kind of there for the ride. But I think when Buddy Hield can shoot well, it can show how much of a threat this Warriors team is. And, the Rockets, weren't there. I think Jalen Green, especially in this series, didn't look strong at all. There was, I think, I think game 2 was really the only game where he kind of balled out. Dylan Brooks was okay. Fred VanVleet kind of inconsistent shooting throughout the series, but he shot pretty decent last night too. It kind of really fell on Sengun not shooting well.
Tonight you got the Knicks and the Celtics game 1 of the Eastern semis at 7 o'clock on TNT. Then that's followed up by game number 1 of the Western semis with the Nuggets taking on Thunder. That should be a pretty fun series there. As, again, the NBA playoffs take forever, but we inch ever closer to somebody taking home the trophy coming up here in about a month or so.
Oh, it'll be exciting, and we're watching a matchup with Tatum and Brunson. They've been going to each other since high school, so it'll be another textbook matchup tonight.
Will be fun to watch. See you next week, Sam.
See you next week, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
I'll do it for the X Point. Up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. 11 o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you here. Happy Cinco de Mayo, guys. That's something y'all gonna partake in? No?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, little Mexican food at the Clark Casa.
Okay. In margaritas?
Spanish for house. If you didn't know.
Thank you for our Spanish lesson of the day.
I'll be cooking up some tacos later.
I did the morning show with Preston today, and he gave out his PSA to everyone that today is not Mexican Independence Day, contrary to some popular belief. So if you come across somebody saying that today, be sure to correct them.
Do you know the actual
appease Preston?
Do you know the actual celebration, and then can you say it in Spanish? Is the key question.
I can't say it in Spanish.
Wes, do you know?
Yeah, you're the Spanish professor here.
Apparently, because I know like 2 words. It's Dia de los Muertos. It's the Day of the Dead. Isn't that Cinco de Mayo? Am I getting it totally wrong?
You mean their Independence Day?
No.
Dia de los Muertos, that's like honoring the dead. It's the day after Halloween.
That's November 1st.
It's November 1st.
So, yeah,
that's not their Independence Day.
That's right.
You're fired, dude.
You said Preston said it was not.
No, Cinco de Mayo is not their Independence Day.
Okay.
That's what
you massively
he just
confused
wanted
me,
to get that out there so that's not being misconstrued. Fun day, a little different on a Monday because everybody has to go to work the next day and all those kind of things, but still fun time. And after what people saw on the baseball diamond this weekend, maybe an extra margarita to help you forget about it.
I like to go to like an Italian restaurant on
just to be contrary.
Mess up people.
Just because
nobody's gonna be there.
Exactly. I participate in eating tacos like all the time anyway. So
yeah,
me too.
Burrito tacos are like quite possibly my favorite food of all time.
They're
so
good.
I like to go get those any other time. Everybody else can just pile in and wait, extra long for your food today.
Sure. That's smart. Yeah. You get the other 364 days, right?
Wes has I got to participate in his tour. He's doing a burrito tour.
Okay.
Anywhere I go, I just pull up Yelp and I search burrito. Like if I'm on the road somewhere, and
outside of Columbia, what's the best you've come across?
A food truck in Tampa when I was down there for the bowl.
It's the number one on the power rankings right now.
I feel like a food truck would be able to produce the best burrito taco. Like food trucks are just good at tacos in general, but that sounds about right.
This guy took probably 30 minutes to provide them too. So it was one guy by himself,
made with love.
I feel like that always makes it better if you have to wait way too long though.
It was
because that's his craft, right?
Yeah,
like he's putting everything.
You can't rush this.
You can't rush it.
And also a great idea for a Firehouse sub since we're going to get to pick our own. Like Wes could do the burrito sub.
Now there's an idea.
How about that? Lots of pressure though, but I think they can deliver. They always deliver.
Yeah, they can.
Literally deliver and on their promises.
Yeah, Larry did tell us maybe the next time we go out there, we get in there and mess around in the kitchen a little bit before they open up and
some burrito,
see what we can craft.
Well, they did have au jus for the not the prime rib, the French dip.
French dip.
So
just need to tweak it.
So there is logistically a way to have
similarities.
Have a way to kind of do a dip on the side.
Yeah.
I would also like to, so one more thing. We're doing like some confessions on the board. I just posted mine that I just commingled Cinco de Mayo and the day after Dia de los Muertos. So I just posted out on the board. Mike Uvas he's not seen Star Wars, any of them ever.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
So I did my mea culpa. I apologize. Hopefully nobody was like upset by me mixing those up.
No, I think it's an honest mistake.
It was.
What is your? I feel like this actually is a pretty good off-season topic. I don't know if we're
just airing things now.
Yeah, but your sports confession. You know what I'm saying?
Confession. Oh.
Mine was, and it's fitting for this week too, or for this weekend, was that I don't get the Kentucky Derby.
Okay.
Like I just don't get it. I do not like. It gets so much attention each year that I don't understand the excitement of. I mean, is it just an excuse to get your friends together and drink and dress up? Like I don't get the excitement level.
Now, how much of it do you watch? I think is the question. Do you just watch the actual race itself?
No, I don't watch any of it.
You don't watch any of it? Have you ever watched any of it?
I've watched it. I just don't get it.
Okay. I'm trying to find the best way to describe it.
I've seen it. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You have to either. There are people, like a good portion of them, who legitimately do love horse racing.
Sure.
So you got that aspect.
And there's a lot that goes into it.
You have the gambling aspect.
Yeah.
But then, like with the Derby especially, you got the pageantry. You know, it's kind of like when people, Wes, I think we are on the same page of this, like Carolina Cup, right? It's cool.
Yeah.
I saw a horse once when I went, you know.
The vast majority of people don't see them, so you're doing better than them.
But, like, I'm just saying, like, Cup is huge here.
Yeah.
So
it's
Kentucky
fun.
Derby is that.
Times 100.
Times a million.
Times a trillion.
Times a trillion, right? So, like, people go out there, they get their mint juleps, like, it's a big thing. Our guy Mark Manoit from Garnet Trust just went. I think he went to the Derby.
Seems on brand.
We can have him on to talk about it. That could be one of his topics. I mean, I watch it. I just can't decide
I just
if I
don't
would like
get
to go or not.
this is the greatest sporting event in the world. I don't understand it.
See, it's one of those things because this past weekend was the 151st. It's been going on for so long. I think age gives things prestige. Again, it's the premier horse racing event in the entire world. And I think it's just kind of one of those things that we all have just become accustomed to, I guess, you know, because like if they started it tomorrow and it had never existed before and, hey, this Kentucky Derby thing wouldn't catch on. But the fact that it's been going on for so long and it just has all this history behind it, I think that's what makes it what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. I just don't get it.
I'm just trying to explain it the best I can. Because I'm not a horse racing expert.
So you're
by any means.
you're not big into it either.
I've been to the Carolina Cup the past 2 years. I did see more than one horse. I do.
You had
try
to
get
work
the
hard
goat.
for that, though, I'm sure.
Well, as part of the work thing, and you have to squeeze yourself up to the gate. I was actually, as we were trying to leave this year.
They are a sponsor, right? So I'm gonna be careful what.
No, it's a fun event. It's a fun event.
Oh, it's an amazing event.
As I was trying to leave this year, I just because they close off.
It's an event.
The track where you can get across it, and I had to watch like another couple races go by before I could leave. So got a front row seat that way. But yeah, it's fun.
Send in your, if you got it is a good off-season topic. If you have a sports confession.
Or
don't go too far. You can go non-sports like I did with mixing up Mexican holidays. Be careful with your confessions, but you can bring them forth.
Keep it radio friendly.
They will be
PG-13.
They will be on air potentially.
PG-13 or lower.
Send those in. We'll collect them, and we'll get to those at some point this week. A lot of things to discuss. We'll get to Xavier Leggett in the Kentucky Derby at some point this hour. Don't worry, because we got some solid gold stuff from him. We got to start off, though, of course, Gamecock baseball. Disastrous weekend. I said shameful earlier. A lot of words to describe it. Very ugly, and a lot of questions being asked about where this program is right now and what happens going forward.
Yeah, all questions fair right now. Overall, 26-23, 5-19 at SEC play. And, as ugly as those numbers are, I don't think that really tells the story of what we saw this past weekend. And so you lose the first game, but, I mean, you competed. You had a lead. It's just it's a loss, right? It's not really a loss that generates any more attention than what it was. It was a loss. But then to get beat by a combined 30-3 in a 2-game stretch, and most of it ended up being, such a weird weekend, but ended up kind of being on the same day, just to be just obliterated like that. And your South Carolina baseball is I don't know. I don't even know if there are words to describe where things are right now, because I think we all, if you put it into some real context and we're really, really honest with yourself, nobody expected South Carolina to be, let's reverse it, 19-5 at this point in the season, right? Sure. Nobody thought this was going to be a just dominant SEC baseball team. But did anybody think you'd be sitting here giving up 30 runs back-to-back and scoring very little on your end? I mean, it's just – this is not a Florida team either that is what they've been traditionally either. Like, this is a Florida team that absolutely struggled to start SEC play.
Yeah, they were 1-11 at one point.
And didn't they lose their first, 8 games or something in SEC play?
Oh, they were I think it was, 8 or 9 games where they finally won one. We talked about them as being an underachiever, bottom of the conference in the first half of conference play. And, they played Missouri and kind of got things righted since then. But still, not a Florida team that was playing for a national championship a couple years ago.
It's not one of those teams like you were playing earlier in the year where you're going, well, another top 5 opponent.
Yeah.
And so they come into your house, traditionally a place that's very, very difficult for people to play. And I think I read they have 10 players right now that are position players that are actually active and not banged up or hurt. And they just dominate you. I mean, there's almost not words for it, I feel like.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing because you think about last year, right? It's not like the program was just completely broken. They missed out on a super, but it was actually a good, this is a ranked team who was competing, right? They made the tournament trying to go get to a super. They didn't make it. And I think, that's the reason that Mark Kingston isn't the coach here. 2023, lost in a super narrowly to Florida, who won the national championship that year. People were disappointed, but okay, that's a good year. That's a good year.
Sure.
But then you're you got to go take the next step. The next season they didn't, and that's why there was a coaching change. The hope was in bringing in Paul Maneri, you can take that next step. Eventually, it didn't really have to be this year, but you expected to go be competitive and more competitive, I think, than you were last year. And why? Well, you got some pieces back. It's still weird because I look at this team as compared to last year, and there are pieces of this team where on paper you feel better about it. And not just on paper, you can go look at the stats. There were fielding problems this weekend, obviously, but they're better in the field last year. That was a huge issue. You feel like they're more solid at certain positions, but the overall product, it just hasn't clicked, And I'm not a big overanalyze the press conference type guy, but I don't know if y'all, watch the one after the sweep where you lose by a combined 30-3, and you just walk away feeling, what's the solution here? Just not good.
Yeah. We'll get to some of that on the other side and let's hear from Coach Maneri because, again, what we heard from him and the way he talked about things at the beginning of the year is a complete 180 to what we're hearing out of him right now, and a guy that really just kind of seems lost and searching for answers. Also coming up a little bit later on the hour, we're going to be talking to former Gamecock Jake Williams about the SEC story that's going to be airing next week about the national championship teams from a little over a decade ago under Ray Tanner. So with that coming up, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris on your Monday on the Game.
Our friends over at Game Day Men's Health can help you as a man reclaim your vitality by optimizing hormone levels. They specialize in TRT or testosterone replacement therapy, which will help boost your energy and strength. And they're a lot different than other clinics that do similar things. They have in-house labs that can deliver your results in just 15 minutes. They're conveniently located in Northeast Columbia near I-77 and Two Notch Road. Comfortable man cave style clinics with TVs and refreshments while you wait. Also great, they don't use any long-term contracts. Flexible plans tailored to your needs. TRT tests available to check your levels with absolutely no obligation, and then ongoing monitoring committed to your success with expert guidance. You can get started by going to GameDayMen'sHealth.com/North-Columbia. Again, located just off I-77, or give them a call, 803-265-3161.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you here on your Monday on the Game, analyzing what happened and what went wrong for the Gamecock baseball team over the weekend, dropping all 3 games to the Florida Gators to fall to 5-19 in conference play. Coach Maneri did keep it relatively short after the games yesterday, but did describe what was a stunningly bad performance by his team.
Well, thank you. I think that's a compliment. Yeah, believe me, for 40 years, every day hasn't been easy. So I've unfortunately have a lot of experience of some bad days, rough days. It's not about me. It's about the kids. I'm here for the kids, not for me. And, I just wish we'd have played better. The biggest thing, you are what you are. You're not going to make guys all of a sudden throw 98 miles an hour. You can't all of a sudden make guys hit the ball 450 feet. But we had some defensive lapses today, which I think is the most disappointing thing to me, because you can deal with whatever your so-called limitations are, but it's not that hard to field a ground ball. You know what I mean? Those are things that any player should be able to do. So, yeah, it was just, in every aspect of the game, we just didn't play very well today. And consequently, we lost 2 games.
Here's a stat for you. Since South Carolina joined the SEC, there's only been 1 season where they did not reach double-digit wins in conference play. That was Coach Kingston's second year back in 2019. Coach Maneri has not coached a team to single-digit conference wins since Air Force back in 1994. So, again, rarefied air for both this program and Coach Maneri. You can obviously hear it in his voice. He's somebody that loves to go in depth and detail and explain what happened, good or bad, like he did a lot earlier on in the season, and it's just not happening right now, and he just doesn't know what to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have run out of things to say anyway. Like, I don't know literally, what do you say other than we got smoked after a series like that? I mean, if you get beat at the plate, if you get beat on the mound, and you get beat in the field, then what else is there to add? Like, everybody else saw it, or at least heard about. I don't know how many people saw it in person, which I think is worth mentioning as well. I don't necessarily think the fan base was as maybe all in on this as I thought they were going to be in the first place, just judging by the attendance, and then just looking at some of the photos and the stream over the weekend. I mean, there's a lot of people that have just checked out at this point, and that's not a shot at them. That's just kind of the reality of it. I think when you have a proud baseball program, and obviously people are going to be ticked off, and some people are still in the ticked off stage, but other people are in the I can't stand to watch this stage, which is a far worse place to be than I'm mad about the product, I think.
Apathy is set in?
For some people.
Yeah, and that and that's not a good place to be. So, and I think, look, barring, Carolina making a run through the SEC tournament, which you can't sit here and legitimately, could it happen? Yes, but, I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time, tracking that possibility or thinking about it. Postseason play is not on the table, barring that. And so I think what people are thinking about now is what is next. How do you fix this? How do you get back to not even what we're going to talk about next segment, going to Omaha and playing for a national title 3 years in a row and winning 2? That is not something that any program should expect, because that's just not something that happens very often at all. But to get back to Omaha for the first time since 2013, or to be in the mix, certainly to be better than what we've seen this year, which has just been, frankly, shocking. And what is that next step, And I think a lot of people are thinking about that. I agree with you, Wes. It seems like people weren't as on board, as excited about this as maybe you would think, given the resume of the person who came in. combined with the fact that on paper it still seemed like you would have a team that would be more competitive than they've been. And could Paul Maneri, be the guy that could help them take that next step? And that hasn't happened. So that leads to these big picture questions of how do you fix it? And I think there's a lot to consider there. I mean, I think we have to say he's got a contract, right? And that contract, could it be prohibitive, in that sense, when you're staring down the barrel of revenue sharing and all those things? You've got to get the product better. I think the question is, do you think it can get better? And we've actually gotten a lot of questions about what does the contract say? What is a buyout if hypothetically Paul Maneri left or wasn't the baseball coach here next year? And if he just left, and I'm not reporting that's happening or a possibility, that's different than if he was made to leave per the contract. So there's just a lot of questions there, and a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, I think the only chance a change happens at this point is if Maneri's like, you know what, this is more than I thought it was going to be. I'm in over my head. I'm going to go back to being retired. Not saying that couldn't happen, but I don't think they would move on from him that quickly. Again, year number one has not gone very well, but this was something that was planned out to be a 4 to 5 year thing at the end of the day, and I would imagine they'd give him more time with that. But again, I don't know what's going to happen. It's not a fun place to be, not a fun team to cover, because not giving you a whole lot to talk about as of right now. But this past weekend was kind of the epitome of the difference between where you've been and where you are right now.
I mean, this was rock bottom to this point, right? I mean, I'm looking over there. I'm looking at Missouri. You want to talk about rock bottom just as a team and program right now. 0-24 in conference play, and then only 13-34 overall. So you're not even getting a lot of those midweek wins. But even they played number 9 Georgia this week. They got blown out in game 1, but they lose 5-2 and 4-2 on Saturday and Sunday. The weekend before, blown out one game, but they lose 7-5 at number 16 Alabama, and then 7-3. So now, don't get me wrong, they've had their share of just absolute. They've been crushed.
Sure.
This year too. But point being, if Carolina had the exact same record, and Florida came in here and South Carolina lost 3 tight games, and you just say, man, we got out-talented, then it would still be a backlash. Don't get me wrong. But it would be a little bit different.
Yep.
Just getting blown out in your place, and not a one-game fluke, because that's the thing about baseball. You're going to have it happens in MLB, right?
Yep.
You can have a great team, and they can just get smoked, and then halfway through the coach says, hey, we're not wasting our pitchers for the rest of this game. And then somebody looks at the final score, and they go, what happened? It's like, well, you kind of punted on the game and saved your pitching.
Sure.
It can happen in baseball. But over the course of a series, to just be beat this definitively in your South Carolina, I don't know. Just not acceptable. So I know we got to hit a break so we can get to Jake.
We'll switch gears to some more positive thoughts about Gamecock baseball, that being, of course, the national championship teams will be honored with the SEC Storied coming up next Wednesday on the SEC Network at 7 o'clock. We'll talk to one of the guys that was on those teams, that being Jake Williams, in just a second as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls along on your Monday on the Game.
Looking for someone to help you at your home with anything you may need from an audiovisual standpoint, be sure to reach out to our friends over at Integrated Media. Michael, Nathan, they're helpful, friendly, and very knowledgeable and capable team. Been to my home, they've been to Wes's home. They can come out to yours to integratedmediainc.com. If you want to go check out some examples of some things that they have actually done at people's homes, Integrated Media Columbia on Instagram and on Facebook, 803-948-8327. Integrated Media can do anything from just helping you get a new television, mounting it for you, to Sonos wireless speakers, outdoor patio, man cave setups, complete smart home systems with security and cameras where you can control everything in your home, whether you're home or away, from the touch of a button. Again, that's Integrated Media, 803-948-8327 or integratedmediainc.com.
There's something going on. There's some spirit.
It's bigger than us. Charlie and Baylor. Let's do it for them.
That's when you knew we're meant to win.
Back to back for the Garden in Black.
Let me tell you a story about how two brave boys taught a team to never give up.
Now I'll spread my wings and I
An SEC story film, In Spirit, Wednesday, May 14th at 7 p.m. on SEC Network.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, West, and Chris along with you. That was the commercial that aired the other day to promote In Spirit, the SEC Network special that will celebrate the back-to-back national championship Gamecock baseball teams from a little over a decade ago. Joining us now on Love Chevrolet phone line, somebody that was not only on both those teams, but has also producing this piece for the SEC Network. Jake Williams. Jake, first of all, appreciate your time with us this morning. Man, how excited are you this thing's going to be airing next week?
Oh, guys, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's definitely a treat to be on, and couldn't be more thrilled for the release. It's been a very long time coming. Super excited for what's coming for all the Gamecock people here.
Hey, Jake, it's Wes. Appreciate you hopping on, man. Excited for you, excited for your teammates as well that this story is being told. And can you elaborate on what you just said? Can you just take us back to maybe when this thing got started, kind of the journey to getting to the point of it being created and then released, and just kind of everything that's going on behind the scenes to get us to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, being a contributing member of these teams back in 2010 and 11, having lived these stories, having been a part of it so intricately, the teams go down as one of the greatest of all time, in a lot of eyes, the greatest of all time. And, I had kind of where the idea honestly spurred from was I had just really incredible perspectives from inside the team, videos of bus rides, locker rooms, hotel trips, different stuff that was just a really, really cool look inside this team that you wouldn't really be able to see in other ways. From there, about 5 or 6 years had gone by and no one had told our story yet. Obviously, again, it being one of the great stories of college baseball, I knew someone was going to tell that story. So I kind of took it upon myself at that point to see if I could be the one to do it. I studied journalism and photography, videography, and different art forms in school. This is kind of toward my calling anyway, so I thought it'd be the perfect match. Sure enough, it was. I got Ray, Coach Tanner, and the university involved right away. They were incredible in getting this project sort of greenlit with me, the necessary resources to kind of kick it up off the ground. But basically from there, they said, here you go. We helped you kick it off. Now you take it from here. And as I said, it's been now a very long time coming of hard trials of a first-time filmmaker trying to get this to the right home. But finally, it found itself to its natural home in the SEC Network and ESPN. So couldn't be more thrilled.
Jake, it's Chris again. Thanks for joining us, man. Really looking forward.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing this. And without spoiling it, obviously, I think we know some of the plays and some of the storylines and some of the things that are going to be covered. But tell us, can you give us maybe a little sneak peek at maybe some of the other things that have not been told before, have not been seen, that fans who watch this may be able to take a look at when they tune in?
Yes, absolutely. So, it's going to have all the great baseball stuff, all the juice, all that stuff that made these one of those great college teams ever. Sure enough, the crazy, miraculous plays, getting out of seemingly impossible jams over and over and over again throughout both of those years. It's going to have all that. So that's going to be great to any sports eye. Now, from there, it kind of takes on a real heart of its own in showcasing how really, whether it's baseball or any sport, how much a team can really impact families, schools, towns, cities even. And what happened, and not to give too much away, is but two little boys, who are battling a severe cancer. A lot of the Gamecock Nation will remember him and his story a little bit. But we've brought it back to life and shown all the amazing details that really went on to make this an incredibly special run that just it really, you hear all the time, how can you not be romantic about baseball, that kind of stuff. It has all that kind of stuff of how powerful, just not just winning championships, but how it can bring groups, families, some comfort, joys, and hopes when there's times when these people don't have it at all and they're searching for it, and it can be offered in different ways. So it's really powerful to hear the ways that these teams impacted not just these two families, but thousands of others probably across the state. Heard so many different stories of families impacted and how, decades and decades long Gamecocks were waiting for these championships and finally got it, and the relief that followed.
Talking to former Gamecock baseball player and producer for In Spirit, which comes out next Wednesday on the SEC Network at 7 o'clock, celebrating those two national championship baseball teams. You kind of mentioned going back through some of that footage you had of yourself and your teammates from back in the day. Was there anything that surprised you or things that you had forgotten about as you were going through all this stuff and kind of piecing this story together?
Well, I think that's been one of the greatest thrills for me, being the producer, and again, this has been basically my baby, this project, the whole time, and just keeping it alive. But again, one of the funnest parts has been going through and discovering these stories, these things that even myself, even a lot of guys on the team, we didn't even know the depths of what was happening around us. We were more so concerned of how to succeed on the field. While, then it's amazing to uncover so much that has happened, so many different stories. It's been truly a treat. So many, we talk about it, we're sitting in the dugout with Charlie Peters being our bat boy. We all kind of know his story, but then now for myself to really unravel a decade and a half worth of relationships, how closely knit the Tanners got with these families, how much it really mattered to hear these mothers and fathers talk about what these teams offered for their children. It's been truly special. Of course, there's been some amazingly fun stuff, some wild tales, just different fun things. Like I could first think of Scott Wingo talking about, someone told him they named his horse after him. Someone wrote a song about the team, just some very fun, different stuff all throughout. There's going to be some comedy in the show. There's going to be some pulling at your heartstrings for sure, laughter. There's going to be all kinds of good emotion coming through.
Jake, I've got CWS Finals, Game 1 against Florida, 2011, bottom of the 9th and bottom of the 10th pulled up on YouTube right now. So you know where this is going. Let's talk about your play in the 10th. Now just like a famous play in Gamecock lore to go along with the Houdini act from the infield in the 9th inning of that game. What were you thinking as what could have been the game-winning hit for Florida is rolling your way in left field, and you come up firing? Did you know you were going to throw him out? What was going through your mind at that moment other than just execute?
I appreciate you bringing this up. It's one of my favorites, obviously. It's a rare thing to get an opportunity for an assist in an outfield. It just truly is. I mean, often you can go, a month and not even have a shot at all. I think across our outfield board, most of the guys had 1, 2, maybe 3 assists. I mean, across the whole season, it's kind of rare to even get an assist. Now, across our outfield, notoriously, we had some strong arms out there. We had Jackie Bradley, who obviously everyone knows could throw it out of the ballpark. We had Evan Marzilli and a few others that could just really play. But in that moment, here we find myself in the bottom of the 10th. Scott Wingo had just gotten us through in the 9th, some crazy plays. Scott and myself, we actually grew up together, so I've watched Scott make those kind of plays my whole life, which is just a fun little side note. But now here we are back in the 10th. Now it's kind of, there's what else is going to happen? We've found ourselves out of jam after jam after jam, from game after game. Here's another one. So, we get a guy on second. One of the best hitters in the country steps up, Mike Zunino, who was a longtime big leaguer. He, he had been pretty cold all that College World Series. So there was a feeling that something was about to happen, and I think everyone knew that. Myself, I've talked about this feeling I had that came over of sort of a knowing that something was about to happen to me. And it's not necessarily a scared or a nervous thing. It's more of a calming sensation of, okay, this is coming to you. Just get ready. Get yourself ready. So I had one of those strange premonitions that this ball just might be hit to you. Sure enough, it was. And we were able to make one of those plays that shows the true milliseconds of the game, the true tiny, tiny details, to save the game. Where, again, you got to save that game in that situation. Notoriously, Game 1 winners go on to win the whole World Series. So Game 1 is essential. And for me, it was just such a thrill to be able to make that throw and that play. And, again, it was kind of my turn at that point. Every guy throughout that whole series had done different things, and that was basically my turn to step in and do my part.
Well, Jake, we know that's going to be a feature part of the documentary for sure. Can't wait to see it all coming up next week, and I know you're going to be very proud to see this thing finally air and let the nation in on the story that was those two Gamecock National Championship teams.
Yes, thank you, guys. Yeah, we actually just celebrated this weekend. We had a premiere at the Long Football Operations Center on campus, and went over to the baseball games as well. And Coach Tanner and his foundation gave some money to both hospitals that the boys had cancer with. So we had a real great time. There was about 200 people at the premiere. We're going to be doing another premiere in Greenville this weekend, May 10th. If anybody's in Greenville that hears this, please come out. It'll be 1 p.m. at Camelot Cinemas. But other than that, it's going to be just a week and month of celebrating, bringing back, the glory of these teams, getting a spark for the current baseball team. As we all know, they need it right now. They got to remember the glory that lives within them. This is where they come from. So this is going to be a proper reminder of, their legacies, what was happened, and it means so much still to so many. So it's been a true honor for me.
Absolutely. Appreciate your time, Jake, and we'll be checking with you down the line, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you guys for your time. I look forward to seeing more, and you guys do amazing work, so thank you. Please continue.
Absolutely. Jake Williams, again, in spirit airing next week on the SEC Network. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on the Game.
And being a guy that lives in Charlotte, I saw that you have a very unique touchdown dance.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I want you to show it to me right now.
You gonna crank it?
I'm gonna crank it too. You gotta show me how you do it.
All right, man, you just...
My pants are really tight though, bro. We gotta be careful.
I just throw one hand down like you're holding the reins.
All right, I'm holding the reins. Got it.
You gonna take this hand like you whipping.
All right, whip.
And you just go around.
Just like that right there. You like? Do I got it?
Oh, yeah,
do I look good? Coordinated?
Oh yeah, that's it.
All right. I like it. I like it. Hey, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate
you, man. I love your spirit.
Yes,
always
sir.
great to see you.
Oh yeah.
Watch out for this one, y'all. If you got a fantasy team,
we're gonna make it happen.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris along with you here on your Monday, wrapping up the show. Of course, that was Marty Smith of ESPN hanging out with our guy Xavier Legette out at the Kentucky Derby. As we said on Friday, look, I think Xavier's going to have a long, successful NFL career, may accomplish a lot. He may not have any more fun, though, than he did out there at the Derby this past weekend, showing Marty Smith how to ride dollar bill like he does when he scores a touchdown for the Panthers.
Gotta love X. I mean, or Zabo, who we've been saying his last name wrong apparently his entire South Carolina college career. But I'm actually, I gotta say, I'm impressed with the NFL, with their PR, with their media relations for just showcasing Legette and letting him go out there. Very smart, and obviously is awesome for him in that we've already seen several endorsements pop up for him and opportunities, and I'm sure many, many more to come.
I felt like, our guy Marty Smith from Virginia, certainly fellow Southerner.
He understood him.
Yeah, he understood him. But I felt like Marty even was trying to have a Southern off with Xavier. Like, he went a little bit deeper into his own bag of Southern accent. Like, he really deep dive there.
Well, he said at the beginning of their little interview, this is the two most Southern people ESPN's ever allowed on the air together. And he's probably not wrong.
That is absolute facts. Yeah. I mean, Zay has been, it's been fun because, I told Wes and I were talking about this on the podcast the other day. I think we missed some opportunities. Like, we got to know Zay some, like we knew about the voice.
Sure.
We knew about some of the things, the horses, et cetera. But I feel like we kind of, in some ways, missed some opportunities to showcase him a little bit more here, which I'm putting, like, Gamecock Central in that category. Like, we should have done some more fun things with Xavier.
We didn't know.
We didn't know as much as we know now. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and again, he came on towards the back half of his time at Carolina, that end of 22 season, really kind of started coming into his own, and obviously the 1,000-yard year as a senior. So for the first, 2-3 years that he was on campus, he was kind of a relative unknown outside of just his physical presence, which was obviously impressive, but, didn't have a ton on the field that, I guess, gravitated people towards knowing more about him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you have to perform for people to listen to what you have to say.
Sure.
So that's just the facts of sports. And, we talked about Xavier Legette from really the moment he arrived as someone who had impressed in the weight room, in the strength and conditioning stuff, in the offseason. And it was just always a matter of, could he put it all together? Would he put it all together? And it didn't come until later. So he really wasn't, for one, he wasn't being asked to do all the press conferences and stuff like that because he wasn't making those big impacts in games. And then I think because he wasn't making those impacts, he really had not just, I don't want to say he wasn't confident because I don't know that, but he didn't sort of just show us who he was, I feel like. He didn't let the personality out, I feel like. And as he got, and I think some of it was just other guys, really the people introducing us to those voices or to his accent was like Spencer Rattler and Dow Loggins, just kind of letting it be known that this was a thing within the team, kind of just trying to do your best Zabo impersonation.
I think Dow still had the best one.
So
Spencer's was good.
Up until, 2023, I mean, Xavier's best season before that, that was year 5 where he turned in that 1,000-yard season. He just had some moments, he had 18 catches the year before, 3 touchdowns. I can't even remember one. He had, the biggest moments prior to then were the bowl game catch against Notre Dame, which was a great play. And then he had the game-winning catch against Vandy in the Zeb Nolan come-from-behind game. And it was like, okay. But he also had some moments where, I remember all the hand-wringing, after the SC State game, he had a couple big drops. Don't let this guy play anymore. Well, good thing he stuck around, and they had him hang around. So he got more well-known, and I'm loving it for him. He's a great guy, and wishing him all the best for this coming year, too.
He and Guy Fieri might be collabing on some raccoon here soon if you guys saw that clip.
Yeah.
I never thought we'd be seeing that crossover, but
I'm here for it.
I am definitely here for it.
I'm telling you, Xavier Legette cookbook.
Please.
Make it happen.
Yes, absolutely. That'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Go to our next halftime show with Terry Ford on your Monday on the Game.
Hey, Tyler, did we get anything on our Firehouse Subs text line about confessions?
Yeah, got a few.
Got a few? Okay, I got another idea for the Firehouse Subs text line. Go ahead, hit the text line, and give me your next big Firehouse Sub idea. Apparently, Chris and I have learned maybe we have a little pull around here. We'll find out. We're trying to get an invite to the test kitchen, and when we do, I want to know your big ideas for the next big Firehouse Subs special. We've been eating, last couple times we've been there, the two new hook and ladders, the Zesty Garlic Hook and Ladder and the Spicy Dill Hook and Ladder. I'm going to be honest, the Zesty Garlic is a little bit more my speed because it's got a little bit of heat, but you still get all that flavor without the super hot. Spicy Dill, though, if you're into the heat, if you're into the 10 of 10, that's the one you want to go with the Last Dab Reaper sauce from Hot Ones. But whatever it is you like, there's a sub for you. Send in your favorites, send in your ideas. Firehouse Subs text line, and get your lunch from Firehouse Subs.